Now, I just watched the video on the way home. Oh, there's the camera. I just watched the video on the way home. And it was a video on TMZ. And they were talking to a Epstein survivor, Jeffrey Epstein survivor. I don't remember her name, but even if I did, I don't think I would say it. And I was going to make a comment on the page, and then I decided not to. I said, I'm not going to disrespect or even do anything that might appear to be disrespect as far as me giving my opinion. My opinion a lot of times comes across as disrespect, because when I'm being 100% totally honest, if my opinion is not popular and it doesn't agree with everybody else, people take that as disrespect. So I'm not going to do that. So I said, I'm just going to come here and vent, because her video, this video on TMZ, triggered me because it brought back a flood of memories. Of things that happened to me in my life, in my younger years, my teenager, and my young adult years. And instead of, like I said, going on anybody else's page and giving my opinion, I'm here on mine. Now, I'm going to be using the word, I'm going to spell it out. SEXUALASSAULT. I'm going to say SA. Okay? I'm going to use the acronyms as much as I can remember to do that, because my page is shadow banned. Period. I get no views, no traction. No views and no traction. And it's bad enough that YouTube has shadow banned me. I don't want them to completely remove this video, because this is going to be a very important thing for me to say. Some people I'm going to piss off, because that's just the nature of what I do. Some people I piss off because, and some people are going to agree with me. This is my perspective. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. Survivors, as I am one, so-called victims, nothing. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm speaking my mind, and I'm going to try to be as respectful as possible. So this survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, talks about, again, I'm going to be me. I'm sorry if I come across in some points as being condescending, disrespectful. I'm not trying to be, but I have to just, it's hard for me to, I wouldn't make a good actress, because I would go off of character so many times, because the real me would just come out. And when I'm feeling something, I'm feeling it. Okay. So this survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, let me speak on that. I might put a link to the video so y'all will know what I'm referring to when I'm talking about, but you'll understand as I go along. She's alive. She seems like she's doing very well physically. She's not dead like the other lady. I forgot her name, Virginia something, the one who had the car accident and passed, But she had an experience with Epstein many years ago, and she talks about it, and it sent off all kinds of memories and shit. So let me say this. Question I want to pose in this, I might have to make this a two-parter. The question that I want to pose is, what is grape? What is RAPE? What is it? What's the definition of it? I should have brought my other phone so I could Google it as I'm talking, because I don't know the actual dictionary definition. Okay, what is the definition of ASSALT? I can't spell. AULT, assault. What is the definition of that? Okay, because by the very definition of those words, my question is, listen to me now, here comes the trigger warning. How many women, and I'm speaking specifically about women right now because I'm a woman. I know men get assaulted too, but listen, how many women are actually victims of grapes and assaults? And how many women just refuse to take responsibility for their bad choices, or being very, very naive and making bad choices? Not saying, now Jeffrey Epstein 100% is a demon. He's a rapist and a predator, and he's every nasty, disgusting thing wrapped in a so-called body that you can say and imagine. But there's a lot of people out there that are predators and abusers. And when I say a lot, maybe half the world. Men and women. Mostly men, I think, but men and women. How many women that claim to be victims are actually victims or just refuse to take responsibility for their own poor choices. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. And I'm speaking of someone who was great more than once. Calm down. I'm sorry. Okay, let me do this right because I don't want to come off as, I want to just focus. I've been, not by anybody as prominent as Epstein, but I've been great. I've been manipulated. Predators have preyed on me sexually. There are times when it was date rape. Ooh, I said the word. Fuck. All right, whatever. I'm shadow banned anyway. There are times when it was a stranger assaulting me. And there's times when I've just made really bad freaking choices, thinking that, well, it's not that bad if I do this. It's okay. And maybe he likes me. And, yeah, I was being taken advantage of by predators. I'm going to go into a few stories and give you examples of each. And so you can see what I'm talking about. What's the difference between a true victim of an assault and a young woman who is naive and young, probably had trauma before that, and making really poor choices because she didn't know any better. And yes, a predator taking advantage. But the question that I asked in the beginning is, what is RAPE and what is assault? Because by those definitions, a lot of women that have claimed and are claiming to have been assaulted maybe weren't assaulted or GRAPED. And okay, I gotta keep my composure because I don't want to come across as a nutcase, because this is really triggering, and it's triggering my PTSD. Not necessarily in this order. There was a time when I was young in New York. That's where I'm from, born and raised in Queens. And I wanted to be like the J-Los and the Halle Berrys. They're a little older than me. I don't know, 7 years. I don't know how old they are, but they're, I think, one not a whole generation, but they're older than me by several years, a few or several years, but kind of sort of in my age group, within the 10 years of my age group. When J-Lo was with the Fly Girls, when Halle Berry was coming out with this movie Strictly Business, when a lot of women that are now very successful in Hollywood were just starting out, I also wanted to be a triple threat. Back then I could sing a little bit, I wasn't no Whitney Houston, but I could carry a note. And I wanted to do acting. I went to acting. What was the name of that school in the village? Oh my God. I don't remember. But there was a place people were going for acting lessons. Damn, what was the name of it? Very popular place in the village. And then acting, singing, and I could naturally dance back then when I had good hips. So there were times when I would go someplace and I would be propositioned. Okay, let me get specific. I went up for a role for a movie. Okay? It was called Zebrahead. And the casting director, the casting director was the lady that, Deborah Akila. I didn't meet Deborah Akila. That was her name. I could be wrong. I think it was Deborah Akila. I don't know. That name, certain things stick in my brain in there. I didn't meet her, but I was told she saw my headshot and she wanted to meet me by the man there. He was like 6th Avenue or Broadway. Italian guy. Is it Anthony or Mike? But there was an Italian guy. He kind of looked like Pacino, little short guy. He was there. He called me out to Manhattan. I lived in Queens, or was it Brooklyn at the time? But he called me out late. It was like after 9. I remember getting there. It was very late because I remember getting home about 2 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning. And he told me that the casting director for this new independent film called Zebrahead, the actor was this white Jewish guy. I forget his name, but he was in a lot of Spike Lee movies. And they said they saw my headshot and that was what they had in mind. But he told me, and I went to see him. I went to the office. It was closed. It was locked. I think he lived in his office. He was an extras casting director. And he told me they picked my headshot. And he said, Natasha, you would be perfect for this role. But he straight out honestly told me, you ever heard of the casting couch? It's real. And he said, basically he wanted to sleep with me. He wanted oral sex and he wanted to give me oral sex. And he said, we have a good time. I believe that's the way he put it. He said, we have a good time. He had drinks, wine. He said, if we have a good time, I'll send you over to Deborah Aquila. She's right there. Like, I think it was 6th Avenue somewhere. He's like, she's right down the street. And I can send you over there this week if me and you have a good time. He was nice about it. He didn't grape me. He basically asked me, I had a choice. What do you want to do? He said, it's nothing new. We all do it. He said, everybody does it. It's called a casting couch. He said, all these women that you see getting these roles, they all do it. He said, it's like a big club. He wasn't like a predator at the time. Okay, no, he is and was a predator. He was a predator. But what I'm saying is, he didn't present it like, come over here and take this D. No, he asked me, you want the role? This is what you got to do. My dumb ass didn't do it. And I say dumb ass because I'm working like a slave these days. And I wish I would have done it because I would have been probably famous and rich with money and not going through what I'm going through. But I ended up saying no because I didn't like him. I wasn't attracted to him. And I wasn't in love with him. My stupid ass had to be in love to have sex, right? So I said no. And I didn't go to meet Miss Aquila. And I didn't obviously audition for the role. And he said I was one of just a few people she had in mind. Okay. Now, if I would have let him do what he wanted to do with me and to me, that would not have been grape. And it would not have been assault. Was he a predator and maybe a POS? But that's not what assault is. When you willingly, the people that slept with, what's the guy who went to jail for it? That gross Jewish guy. Oh my God, every name is escaping my head. The one that went through the whole of Hollywood. If everybody who went to jail for it, Harvey Weinstein, all the actresses, the hundreds of actresses that he had sex with, was every single one of them an assault? No. Did he assault people? Absolutely, I'm sure he did. Like forcibly. Is everyone that went up for a role that willingly laid down, were they assaulted? No. Yes, I'm saying it. No, they weren't. Was every woman that knew what she was doing and spread her legs and got on her knees to get the role taken advantage of? No. Were they all graped? No. Was he and is Weinstein a predator? Absolutely. But was everyone held down and forced? No. The Me Too movement, a legit movement, but they turned it into an illegitimate movement, as humans do, as people do. People suck. There are men lie, women lie, people lie. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But nobody is incapable of lying. Everyone is capable of lying and deceiving and manipulating. Everyone. It's a choice of whether you choose to do it or not. Some people, it's easier for them to lie, deceive, and manipulate, and some people, it's hard for them to do it. But everybody's capable of it. When I had just given birth to my daughter, my second child, I was only 19. And I was homeless, and this guy took me in, and I was living there, and he literally assaulted me, physically grabbed me, held me down because he gave me a place to stay. I would just say he was associated with the groups, New Edition, back when they were little, and New Kids on the Block. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. He was in their camp. I think he was either the manager or the road manager for them. Real shit. I was living in his house, and he assaulted me. He didn't fully grape me because I had my baby, my newborn, next to me, and I was crying and fighting and screaming, and he let me go and told me to get out of his house and threw me and my baby out. And we were on the steps. And there was another dude He was a drug dealer. He turned state's evidence against some really big drug dealers, Fat Cat, Benny, and them. And he was hiding out in the basement of this man's house. He came home one evening and saw me crying on the porch with my baby and said, "What happened, Natasha?" And I told him what happened. His name was John. That's why I'll say his first name. And I told him. And he waited for the dude upstairs to come home and grabbed him up against the wall because he wasn't home. Threw him up against the house and told him, this happened in Queens, New York, and told him, "You ever touch this, you ever touch this girl again, and I'll kill you." So he took me in the basement, and John assaulted me and raped me. I don't know how many days later, maybe a week later, maybe less. But this guy who rescued me from the guy upstairs one evening came home and raped me. He took it. Now he just got out of jail. He was a big, muscular, handsome dude, about my complexion, bald head, gorgeous man. And I was 19 years old with a newborn baby. I had 2 kids at that time. One was in Florida with my mom, and my daughter was with me. Anyway, that was really an assault because he took it. He held me down and took it. Towards the end, when he ejaculated, he was like, "Damn, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And because my mind was so jacked up because of all the abuse I had gone through up until that point, literally was like, "Okay, well, we go together now?" I need a break. Because I'm getting fragmented and I'm losing my thought. I'm back. I just had to take a quick 10-minute break. So it's weird because as I'm talking about these things, before I turned on my phone and started to record and talk about it, I had everything lined up what I wanted to say, and all my past memories were flooding in my head. And now that I'm actually looking at the camera and talking, I'm forgetting as I'm talking. I'm having like blackouts. So I'm sorry. It didn't go the way this conversation didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. It's not flowing the way I thought it was going to flow. I've been diagnosed with depression. I've been diagnosed with bipolar in the past. I've been diagnosed with PTSD, all these things, all right? I'm a grown ass, some people say old, some people say grown. I'm a grown woman, half a century old at this point, okay? And I'm still hanging in there. And there's no pity party here. There's no pity party on my part. It is what it is. And hopefully, if not my daughters, at least my granddaughters, hopefully I'll be of some use to the people that I love in my life and to my family before I die. And hopefully I won't die until I'm 120 or at least 100. But I'm going to say what most people don't want to say, won't say, can't say, or afraid to say, or don't know how to say. Take responsibility, ladies. Men too, but I'm talking about the ladies, okay? Things happen to you in life. Sit down and ask yourself, was I really assaulted? Now, this woman in this video I just watched with TMZ, she said when she met Epstein, now she suffered abuse as well. So there was trauma already in the back of her mind. And yes, predators know how to home in on that. They know how to pick victims. They know who is a victim and who will be a victim for them. They're very smart. So I'm not saying a predator isn't a predator or a rapist isn't a rapist. What I'm saying is, if you're walking down the street and you're waiting on the bus and a man comes and bops you over the head and drags you in an alley, like they did my mom, she told me the story, they took her up to the roof of the building in the Bronx and did that. That's rape. That's assault. That's GRAPE, period. If you're out on a date, it's called date rape. If you're out on a date and you're about to go home from your date and the date decides to take you, that's assault. If you get drunk and you get real sexual and you give it to him and wake up and regret it, that's not assault. There are a lot of women that rewrite the story in their head and tell themselves they were raped and tell themselves they were assaulted. Yes, they might have been taken advantage of. Sometimes they just wanted something and compromised themselves to get it, and later on change the story to say, he took advantage of me. Well, you wanted something out of the deal, Miss Actress that got the role. Doesn't mean those aren't predators and pieces of shit. What I'm saying is, it's not, if a woman has sex and regrets it, that's not an assault or rape. Even if you don't like the dude, but if you say, fuck it, I'll do it. That's not assault. When Jeffrey Epstein, this particular video that I just watched that triggered me, this victim, and I used this because she said, when he took off his clothes and said, massage me, you're not doing it right, massage me. Take off your clothes and let me do you and show you how it's done. She didn't say, oh, I gotta go, because you tripping. She didn't leave. Now, she said, I gotta go, and he blocked the elevator and said, no, you're not going anywhere. That's different. She didn't do that. She froze. She said she turned back into a 5-year-old because she was assaulted when she was a child. And she froze. Doesn't mean he wasn't a predator and didn't take advantage. It doesn't mean that. It means that's not rape. It's not. It's not. She said she took off her clothes. He didn't say, take off your clothes or I'm going to kill you. He didn't say, take off your clothes or I'm going to... He just was playing a role. He manipulated her. Yes, he realized he had a victim and he manipulated her, but he didn't force himself on her. He took off, according to her own words, she said she took off her clothes. She didn't say I told him to stop. She said she laid there and she let him do what he did. And then she said, and then he raped me. No, that's not assault. You can comment your opinion, but that's not assault. If she would have said, no, stop, and he continued, that's assault. If she would have said, no, I want to go home, and he stopped her from leaving, that's forcibly, yes. But if you go someplace and a man, even if he's prestigious, even if he's rich, even if his environment is like overwhelming to you and you're impressed or starstruck or whatever, and not like Diddler, not like Diddy. He didn't give you a quaalude. He didn't, what Cosby did, was great, because if he slipped quaaludes, if a person slipped quaaludes or any drugs, date rape drugs into your drink, that is assault and that is great, because they gave you drugs. You didn't voluntarily do it. They gave you a drug to make you do it. Some women were assaulted and don't even remember. That is assault. I'm talking about this woman wasn't drinking. She wasn't on drugs. He told her to take off her clothes and she did. He told her to lay down and let me massage you and she did. And then he entered her. And then she got up and left like, damn, what did I just allow to happen? But that's not assault. And that's what I came here to say. I've been assaulted, but I've also been in the other situation that I just described. And I know the difference between someone forcing you and someone sweet talking, manipulating. I was 16, because my son I had a son at 15. And I lived me and my mom, my family, we lived in New York, in Queens. There were these houses where they were attached. So two brick square houses attached. We were in the upstairs unit. The landlord was in the downstairs unit. And in the last house on the block was attached to ours. And there was a man that lived upstairs. We'll just call him Troy. And he was upstairs, the upstairs unit, and another family lived in the downstairs unit. And actually another family lived in the basement. But anyway, my bedroom was on the wall of Troy's infant son's nursery. So he said he used to hear me, because I used to love Prince and I used to love Shaka Khan, and I would play the radio and make mixtapes. We had cassettes back then. Anyway, long story short, he worked nights. His wife worked nights, but he was married and he was 36. I remember 37, and I was 16, and I had a baby. So I guess they thought I was loose. So I remember him asking me if I wanted to make some extra money and babysit his newborn. Since I had a newborn, he figured I knew how to take care of a kid. And since it was right next door, attached to my house, I didn't have to go anywhere. He said, if you babysit my son, I'll pay you, like $30, $20, whatever it was a night. I think it was like 20 a night. I think it was 15 a night. But he said, back then it was a lot of money in the 80s. He said, I'll pay you. He asked my mom. She said yes. She didn't think anything was wrong because she's right. My daughter's right next door. I can knock on the wall and she can come home. Can you, if you need to bring your son, bring him. My mom said, no, I'm home. I'll watch John. That was my son's name, but the baby. But he said, can you watch him just for a few hours because my wife leaves, but I come home like 3 hours after she leaves. So it's like only there's a space of time where we need you to watch the baby. And I was like, great. That's, to me, I guess $15. I think it was $5 an hour he gave me, and it added up to like $15 or $20. But anyway, long story short, let me try to make it short. I don't know how long into my babysitting gig, he came home. I was in the room laying down with his baby with his infant. He came home one evening and came in the room and told me how attractive I was. And we talked. I don't even remember the details of what we talked about. But he was on the bed. His baby was asleep. And he was telling me what a good job I was doing. Told me how pretty I was. And that blew my head up. How pretty you are. And how sexy I was. We got, long story short, I remember laying down and I was very aroused. He played with me and I was drenched and he was like, ooh. I remember him tasting me and going, ooh, nah, that's good. You taste good. He was 37 and I was 16. I remember thinking it's wrong. This is a married man. I'm familiar with his wife. His wife is best friends with my other friend's older sister. I remember thinking this is wrong, but I remember thinking, wow, this feels good when he was using his finger. And I remember him pulling it out. I don't even remember. I think I might have given him oral. I don't know. But he didn't beat me up. He didn't force me. He coaxed me into opening my legs. And he had sex with me. And some people would say that was an assault. That was rape. But was it? Because he didn't force it. He manipulated me, yes. But he didn't force me. I could have gotten up and gone next door and gone home at any moment. My little hot ass stayed right there and let him do what he did. Was I a damaged child? Yes. Yes. Had I been raped before? Yes. But that wasn't rape. It wasn't good, but it wasn't great. My point is, a lot of people would consider that rape. It wasn't. I take responsibility for my actions, even though my actions were based on ignorance and being fucked up in the head. But I cannot say he raped me. He subsequently died. I learned about this many years later, decades later, that he died of AIDS. He was pretty much, I know this now as an adult, but back then he was a whore. To this day, sometimes I wonder if his wife caught it. I just remembered her name. To this day, I wonder if she caught it from him. But he died. I heard later on from people from the old neighborhood. I live in Atlanta. This was back in Queens, New York in the 80s. And I remember in the late 80s. And I remember hearing, like in the early 2000s, oh, he died of AIDS. Because in Queens, it was the crack epidemic in South Jamaica, Queens. And a lot of people were shooting up. A lot of people were having sex. A lot of people were dying of AIDS. He died. I didn't catch AIDS, thank God, obviously. So he caught it after me. But I think my mom found out. I don't know. I never asked her. But I think she found out, and then she told me I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't babysit anymore. Or I think she had a talk with him. Now that I'm an adult, because I remember them talking, and I remember her being angry. As a matter of fact, I think somehow she might have found out, and she and that was it. But that wasn't rape, because he didn't force me. He didn't force me. It was manipulation. It was being a predator. He was a pedophile and he was a predator, but he did not grape me. That's what I came here to say. There is a difference. Just because you have sex with a man you don't like and he manipulates you or lies to you, or manipulate is the best word I could come up with. That's not the same as assault. It's not. Manipulation is not assault. Now, you manipulate someone's mind, that is horrible. And you take advantage of someone that's young and stupid, that's horrible. You take advantage of someone that's young and traumatized, that's horrible. But it's not rape and it's not assault. So like in the Me Too movement, Amber Heard, remember her? Was it Amber Heard? Was that her name? Johnny Depp's ex-wife? I knew she was batshit crazy and I knew she was a narcissist. She was a sick woman. And when the whole trial came out, I said, I knew it. No one believed me. When it first happened and she was like, he beat me. I was like, that bitch's lying. I said, that bitch is lying. Everybody thought I was, they didn't like that. Whether it was on Facebook or on my old YouTube or in person, they were like, oh, wow, you're against women. No, that bitch is lying. Turns out she was a sick bitch and she was lying. She painted bruises on her face. Sick, sicko. And she ran on the coattails of the Me Too movement. That's bad. When people lie about being assaulted, it makes it bad for real people that get assaulted. Learn the difference between being manipulated, having trauma and allowing someone to manipulate you, and being raped. They're not all in the same. You can't paint this whole sexual situation with one broad sweep, with one broad brush. They're different situations. And each situation needs to be addressed individually. But first, learn the definition of rape and assault. And once you learn that definition, a lot of people will realize a lot of women were not the latter. And I think that's what I came here to say, so I'm going to leave it alone right now because I'm emotionally exhausted. And I'm sorry if a lot of people are going to disagree with me. Everybody can agree, disagree, I don't care. And whoever's going to see this video, probably nobody, because I'm shadow banned. But there's a difference between rape, assault, and other things, and being taken advantage of. It's not good to be taken advantage of. No, those are predators. And some predators that manipulate also do the rapes and the assaults. But every situation is not a rape and an assault.